Okay, so picture this. You type exactly one single sentence into your AI. Then you just close your laptop. You actually step away from your desk. Maybe you go grab a coffee, take a quick phone call, run an errand. And when you finally come back, the project is just completely done. And I don't mean you come back to a rough draft or some messy bulleted list of loose ideas that you now have to painstakingly piece together. No, you return to an actual finished, polished result that was built step by step while you were entirely away from the keyboard. That is absolutely wild, right? And the crazy part is, this isn't some distant sci-fi concept. That is exactly what Kimi has just shipped, and it literally changes everything about how we interact with our screens.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly massive, Kimi's brand new goal mode. We are witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift in the tech space right now, like a real game changer. We're moving away from AI that simply answers your random questions to AI that actually works for you, almost like a dedicated employee. Over the next 8 minutes or so, we're going to break down exactly what changed, how it actually functions under the hood, and I'll walk you through some real practical workflows so you can see this incredible shift in action for yourself. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First up, the AI paradigm shift. Second, understanding goal mode. Third, practical AI workflows. Fourth, we'll talk about the real limitations. And finally, the bigger picture.
All right, Section 1, the AI paradigm shift.
Let's start by establishing the baseline of what even makes this possible. So Kimi recently rolled out something called Kimi Work. Now, this isn't just another chat window living in your browser. Kimi Work is a full-on desktop AI agent built to operate right inside your actual workflow. We're talking about an agent with real file handling capabilities, browser control, code execution, and, crucially, the ability to sit with a single project for an extended period of time instead of just relying on that standard back-and-forth chat ping-pong. Now, what's really interesting here is the core difference. With normal AI, you ask a question, you get an answer, and then you have to take over as the project manager. You're the one stitching all those different outputs together. Goal mode completely flips that whole structure on its head. You give it an objective, and the system just takes that objective and works completely autonomously to reach the finish line.
Moving right along to Section 2, understanding goal mode.
So how is this actually working under the hood, right? How does the software pull off this autonomy? Well, it's all about the internal loop. When you hand goal mode an objective, it triggers a very specific sequence. Step 1, you set the goal. Easy enough. Step 2, the system automatically breaks that big goal down into a sequence of actionable, bite-sized steps. But Step 3 is where the absolute magic happens. It executes those steps, but it continuously checks its own progress against your original goal. It literally verifies its own work. If it generates a table, it checks if the formatting is right. If it pulls facts, it cross-references them. It creates this continuous loop, verifying, adjusting, verifying again, until Step 4 when the project is fully completed.
And this brings us to a really crucial term you need to know: long horizon tasks. These are projects where your end goal is clear, but the path to get there requires multiple connected steps, intermediate decisions along the way, and ongoing verification. Think about, the last time you had to put together a quarterly review. You don't just sit down and write it in one go. You have to pull the data, format the charts, draft the summaries, review the tone. That whole multi-phase chain is a long horizon task. And goal mode is specifically engineered to handle these complex chains. Instead of one prompt giving you one simple response, you get research, organization, document creation, and refinement all seamlessly chained together.
Which brings us to Section 3, practical AI workflows. Let's build some momentum here and move into some concrete proof. Because look, it's one thing to talk about autonomy in theory, but it's a whole different ballgame to see it in a practical workflow. Let's look at how you'd use this to build a competitive research document. Notice the exact phrasing being used here. You're inputting a goal, not a simple question. You use the exact trigger /goal, followed by your instructions. Analyze the top competitors in our space, research their positioning, pricing structure, and key features, organize the findings into a comparison document, and end with a summary of strategic gaps. See what's happening? You are defining the entire destination right up front, which is absolutely vital because it gives the AI the complete context it needs to navigate completely on its own.
Boom. Once you hit enter, the AI just takes over. It rapidly initiates a research phase, handles the messy data collection, moves right into structuring that data, builds the actual comparisons, and then performs the final synthesis. It handles all of these subtasks automatically. You don't have to hold its hand, you don't have to constantly remind it what it was doing, which, let's be honest, is frankly more than we can say for some human interns. It just already knows it needs to move on to structuring the comparison document next. Let's move to and see how this builds out for a different workflow, a content strategy build.
So let's see this in a use case aimed at creators, educators, or strategists. Let's run a full content strategy build. Again, we are defining a very clear, well-scoped destination here. /goal, create a content strategy for an AI-focused channel. Research currently trending AI topics, generate 10 video concepts with titles and thumbnail directions, and lay it all out on a weekly schedule. Just think about the sheer volume of work requested in that single prompt. That is a massive undertaking that would normally require a human to, jump between 5 different tabs and tools for hours? But here, in one continuous run, without requiring you to manually trigger every single phase, the system researches what's actually trending right now. It generates a structured slate of 10 viable concepts, complete with titles and thumbnails, and it organizes the whole shebang into a highly usable weekly plan, start to finish. Contrast how long this would take a human. Hours of manual research, exhaustive brainstorming, meticulous spreadsheet scheduling, versus the AI just doing it in one continuous run while you're literally just grabbing lunch. Your job was defining the goal, the system's job was the entire execution chain underneath it.
Okay, let's take a breath. Section 4. The real limitations.
Now, I want to deliberately slow down our pacing here for a moment. We're here to objectively explain this software to you, not to sell it to you. Autonomous, multi-step AI execution is genuinely impressive, no doubt about it. But we really need to sit with the structural reality of this technology. It brings up a very vital question. Is it really a finished worker? As focused learners, we need to ground the hype for a second and take a deeply honest look at the structural catches of handing over total autonomy. There are 3 main limitations we have to consider here. First up is error compounding. See, when an AI handles an isolated task, a mistake is pretty small, but when it chains 15 steps together autonomously, an early misstep can quietly ripple through and corrupt literally every subsequent step. For example, if it pulls the wrong pricing tier in step 1 of your competitive research, that error completely ruins the final comparison document. Second is trust and oversight. Giving an AI autonomy for low-stakes research, totally fine. But for high-stakes legal, medical, or financial tasks, the lack of human checkpoints is dangerous. You absolutely do not want a hallucination sneaking into a binding contract. And third is feature maturity. This is a brand new feature. How it handles completely untested edge cases or highly ambiguous instructions is something the user base is honestly still discovering.
So, the crucial point is this. Kimi Goal Mode is an incredibly powerful tool, but it is not a finished worker. Well, not yet anyway. You should absolutely use it, but you need to manage it exactly like you would a new, eager collaborator. You give it a clear goal, you let it run, but you always review the work thoroughly before you treat it as final.
Finally, Section 5, the bigger picture. Let's zoom out to conclude this explainer and look at the macro-level shift happening here. Because the story isn't just about Kimi adding a neat new feature. The real story is the rapidly changing relationship between humans and software. We are shifting from tools that just respond to agents that actively pursue objectives. And this perfectly illustrates the new world we're stepping into. It leaves us with a fascinating, open-ended question for you to ponder. If you had an independent AI working for hours entirely autonomously, what is the very first project you would hand off to it? Think about your own workflow, your own bottlenecks. What does a long-horizon task look like in your daily life?
As we enter this wild new era of autonomous agents, that question is only going to get louder and louder. I really hope this explainer helped you grasp the mechanics and the true potential of Kimi's new goal mode. To help us keep making these, like, share, and subscribe, please, and drop a comment in comment box.